So originally, performance royalties were because of the invention of like radio, right? Where it's like, okay, now people aren't buying records, but they're tuning into a radio station and my song, my composition is getting played. Well, like, how am I going to get paid for that, right? Okay, well, we'll come up with something called a performance royalty, and we'll have these organizations called performance rights organizations, PROs, go out and license to the radio stations and collect that money and pay them to publishers and songwriters. That's one part of the puzzle. But then there are different kinds of publishing royalties that PROs like ASCAP might not capture. Like the second big type of publishing royalty is the mechanical royalty.
Right.
Totally different part of the picture and not collected by ASCAP, right? So I think the reason why songwriters who have real big, songwriting catalogs and significant publishing money that they want to collect go to a global publishing administrator is to make sure that they're not just collecting one type of royalty in one country, but that they're collecting every single type of publishing royalty globally.
Yeah. So the way that I always learn about publishing is just basically ultimately what it comes down to is the exploitation of a copyright and certain rights within the copyright, right? So one of them, well, you just mentioned two. There's the performance rights and then the mechanical rights. What is a mechanical right?
So mechanical right originally was about like if you're actually making a mechanical reproduction of a song, right?
That's how far back this thing goes.
And, like it literally goes back to things called player piano rolls. Whereas like you would literally buy pianos that had machines in them and you would feed in sort of like these rolls of paper that would mechanically play a song. And what the songwriters and the composer said was like, oh wait, people are buying these rolls of papers. How do I get paid? That's the mechanical royalty. What's interesting about publishing is that it's such a confusing landscape of all these terms that almost feel like a foreign language. Yeah. But when you go into the history, there's a reason why they exist. So the mechanical royalty was for literally the mechanical reproduction of player piano rolls and then later records. Like you're literally using a machine to take a piece of wax and put a musical composition on it. That's a mechanical royalty. Same thing with performance royalties. Okay, people are performing my song on the radio. I need a royalty for that. The problem is that when you zoom out to 2026, now the most important source is just streaming, right? And so we have this sort of complicated landscape of publishing terms. But at the end of the day, today, people are just going to Spotify and Apple Music or YouTube and they're listening to music. But still, those places pay both mechanical and performance royalties.